Again, it's a very good morning to you all. I would like to extend our welcome to all those that are visiting us this morning. We have already acknowledged one of our visitors in our study, and we have since been joined by another visitor. We acknowledge your presence, and we thank you for choosing Hillside as your place to spend your Sunday today. We hope and trust that whatever is going to transpire here is going to be something that may inspire you. If there is anything, as usual, that you may want to know more about, after we are done, you are free to ask everybody, and we will be glad to explain everything to you. 2018 came and it went. That's a year that actually came and went, just like any other year that came before it. And the same way 2019 also is going to come, or it has already come, 6 days already in it. It has come, but it's also going to go the same way years have been going by. It's very interesting to me that we have people today that might be sleeping in hospitals because they inflicted some injuries and scars on themselves because of the excitement and over-excitement of the so-called New Year. We have some people that are trying to recover. It may take them maybe a year or more years to try and recover from deaths they actually incurred simply because of the so-called festive season that was coming. It's a pity that year in, year out, we are always caught in such a very nonsensical behavior, so to speak, if you ask me, because we can't learn from the past. I've always been asking myself a question and saying, what is this halabaloo all about? I mean, what is this excitement all about? Considering the fact that what has really happened, on reality, what has just happened is, besides having a new calendar, which now says there is a 9 at the end, where there was an 8. What else really changed? I mean, the bed that you slept on the 31st is the same bed that you slept on the next day on the 1st. I mean, almost the same food that you ate on the 31st is basically the same food that you had. Imagine you have the same wife that you had then and the same wife now. So where is the difference? Where is the change? The same husband, now the same children, the same children. The same school, the same school. Except those, of course, that are going to go for Form 1. But my point is, there is no change really in our lives. That happened. If you had flu on the 31st, the flu did not just disappear because you are now in a new year. You still came into the new year with the same flu. So what that teaches us is there is no change that really happened. So as Christians also, there is no change that really happened to us, except that there is an excitement, there is an euphoria that was actually created by people before we were born, of course, and we are actually perpetuating it as well. But I want to talk about this 2018 from the Zimbabwean context in particular, because there are some things that I want us to try and share this morning that might encourage ourselves as we go forward. Since we are just starting our year, this, Brother Keith has already acknowledged, is our first service for the year 2019. So we still have some 51 other Sundays probably to go together. What are some of the things that we probably need to do as we are starting this year that is called 2019? But before we can do that, let us try to recap the year 2018. What a year it was from the Zimbabwean context, from my own judgment and my own preview. The year has been hard to the majority of the people. It has been hard simply because from the 1st of December right through until almost now, we have no doctors in our hospitals. That's a sorry situation. I'm one person who believes that a doctor does not prolong somebody's life. The longevity of life obviously does not come from a doctor. But we cannot run away from the fact that doctors do restore some conditions that are restored. For example, if you break your arm, you need a doctor to do a surgery on you, either to put whatever they call those metal rods they put in, or they put a plaster. You need a doctor to do that. If you break your leg, there are conditions that a doctor may try to reverse. But when your day comes, a doctor obviously cannot stop that from happening because that is God's prerogative. But imagine those people that were involved in road accidents during this festive season. We had plenty of them who got injured. And they went to hospital only to discover that there was no doctor. Imagine the pain they go through all that time. Some are still going through the same pain. One way or another, directly or indirectly, you were affected. If it was not you, it was your next door. If it was not you, your next door neighbor. If it was not the next door neighbor, it was your relative who actually went to hospital to find that there were no doctors. That was a sorry situation. One of the most painful experience that we had to go through in 2018. Think about the price hikes of almost everything, basic commodities to start off with. The shelves are full of goods, but you can't buy them because the price is just out of the roof. Think about the pharmacies and the chemists. If you go there, you want to buy some medicine for yourself. The money they are actually demanding. No one is actually earning that money, but the price is just high. No salary was adjusted in tandem with the prices that are going up. That again puts pressure on Zimbabweans in general, on people in general, because we cannot afford to buy things that we should ordinarily buy. I like what people have been saying, wherever I was, probably heard that, WhatsApp it was circulating that this year, 2018, rather, Christmas was postponed because there was no Coca-Cola. That it has become a permanent feature in, I'm told, since the 60s. So they are saying last year's Christmas was postponed because for the first time in history, there were no soft drinks in the country. Again, that's some pressure which actually is exerted on Zimbabweans in general. Think about the shortage of fuel, which definitely will translate in the shortage of almost everything. Ambulances are going to be affected. Fire services are going to be affected. The police are not going to be able to come to you if you call for them because there is no fuel. You yourself, there are some missions that you need to carry out that you can't carry out because you don't have fuel. All that was pressure that actually also was exerted on you, extra pressure that you had. But what pained more was the fact that day in, day out, we actually have the leaders that supposedly were chosen by people who actually come out on national television every day, for example, to tell you that fuel is in abundance, when we actually don't have fuel in the fuel tank. The minister comes out, he tells us that fuel is plenty in Masasa. But we cannot all go to our R&Q in Masasa for fuel. We need fuel at our doorsteps. That's the normal thing. So fuel is not there, that's the basic thing. Everything else that is not, the doctors, we are always told by politicians every day that things are being solved. When we actually don't see doctors in hospitals, simply because, of course, when they fall sick, they actually go out of the country to actually receive their medical attention. So the pressure is always on you and me, the ordinary people. Think about everything else. We are actually being told, the politicians always come and they tell, we have stopped pharmacies from selling in US, that's illegal. But you go there tomorrow, you find pharmacies selling medical in US. So where is the illegality if it cannot be enforced? All this boils back to the point that Zimbabweans in particular were under pressure throughout the whole of 2018. Now, the question is, where are Christians then in this whole equation? Are Christians also caught, or are Christians also trapped in the same equation that we are talking about? Of course, yes. Christians are Zimbabweans. Yes, Christians are Zimbabweans. Not all Christians. Not all Zimbabweans are Christians, but some Christians are, of course, Zimbabweans. Now, when we are caught in such a web as Christians, where is our answer? Do we even answer? Are we spared from such kind of problems when they ever come in our lives as Christians? Are we supposed to be spared from such a thing? If I go to hospital, should I see, if I go to a pharmacy, should I see a pharmacist just smiling at me and they tell me, no, look, the price for you because you're a Christian is going to be in bond note. Please don't buy in US. Or I am still going to be asked to pay in US dollar. I think we have seen that happening, that we are actually still being demanded. One way or another, one day or the other, you probably slept in a fuel queue. But why do you sleep in a fuel queue when you are a Christian? Because surely you should just get there and somebody says, come, Christian, please, I will pour a full tank for you. We are also human beings that are, found under the same tremendous pressure that everyone else is finding themselves in. So where is our answer? That is our question. Where is the answer to this problem? Then, the answer is found in this book, the book of Job. I like the book of Job from the beginning. We are actually going to try and look at some things quickly before we can actually wrap up our discussion. Starting from the first chapter of the book of Job. There is a man who, by any standards, if he was living today, he would be one of the best Christians ever. If he was living today, get me right. If Job was living today, he would be a very good Christian. But there is Job in chapter 1. We are actually told about his wealth and his achievements in life. He had quite a number of things, animals and everything that he actually needed, including family. This is Job in chapter 1. But in chapter 1, the devil is not going to be happy with this. So the devil is going to visit God and he asks for permission. We know the story we are going to read on our own. We don't have time to actually go detail by detail. So we are just going to sort of summarize. When we get to chapter 13, chapter 1 verse 13, we are going to see Satan who is gone to God and he has been given permission to go and afflict some sufferings on Job. And one thing that he's actually going to do in verse 14 there is going to wipe away all the animals that belonged to Job. In verse 16 we see that happening as well. If we come down to verse 17, we also see that he's going to wipe away all the camels that Job had. When we come down to verse 18, we actually discover that Job is now going to wipe away all children that belong to Job. 10 of them, sons and daughters, they are going to be killed. When we come down, we are going to see that in verse 20, this is what Job is going to say. In verse 20 of chapter 1, then Job arose and he tore his robe and he shaved his head and he fell on the ground and he worshipped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. But listen to what is said in verse 22. In all this, Job did not sin or charge God with wrongdoing. Now, the devil has seen that this has happened to Job, and he still goes to argue with God, and he says, look, Job is still serving you because you have only touch those things that you would call the peripherals. You have only touched those things that are not really connected to Job's life, to Job's health, that is, to Job's body. You have taken his children fine, you have taken his animals, you have taken his wealth, but touch him, and you will see that he's going to forsake you. So God is going to give you permission again in chapter 2, and Satan is going to come and attacks Job's health. And Job's health is disappeared, it has gone. Now, what is going to happen? The wife is also going to come and say, but Job, for how long are you going to keep on holding on to God? Why do you curse him so that you can die? She also has lost hope in everything that is happening. But listen to the answer that Job is going to give. In verse 19 it says, then his wife said to him, do you still hold fast your integrity, curse God and die? But he said to her, you speak as one of the foolish women would speak. Shall we receive good from God? And shall we not receive evil? In all this, Job did not sin with his lips. I like that. I like what is happening in Job. Job has lost everything. Job has almost lost his health as well. But he still holds on fast to his integrity. He still believes that God gives and God takes when he wants to take. Then if you go through the world, you will actually then see that there's a group of his friends who actually are going to come, and these friends of his are not going, they sort of are implying that Job, you must have done something wrong for you to go through all these problems. Because they actually thought a righteous person like what Job was, you cannot go through, there must be something wrong that you have done. Job again is still going to hold fast, even throughout the whole conversation that he was actually going to do with his friends. He actually still held fast to his belief that God gave and God has taken, and he never sinned in all this. Now, when we come to what was going to be our reading today, which actually is chapter 19, this is Job, who is smarting from all the losses who is supposed to be counting the losses, and he says, but God, you actually forgot me. Listen to what he actually says when he's actually talking to his friends. In one of his replies from verse 25, he actually says, for I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been thus destroyed, yet in my flesh I shall see God. Job still has God. Job, even though the wife, even though the friends, even though the whole world probably was looking at him and was saying, but look at this guy, look at how miserable he is. Job is still saying, I know that my Redeemer lives. We actually sing a song here which says, I know, for I know that my Redeemer lives. We are actually taking it away from this verse, that the Redeemer of Job lived. Do we still have a Redeemer today for Christians that is living? Yes, the answer is emphatically yes. Under the tremendous financial pressure that Christians are facing in Zimbabwe at the moment, the one thing that we cannot wish away is the fact that our Redeemer is still living. If we take an example of Job, it will actually inspire us going forward. I talked about 2018, and personally, when 2018 started, I would actually say I started on the wrong foot. Because to some of you who actually remember, 4 days from now, which will be on the 10th, if the coin had gone on the other side, I would be completing 1 full year dead. You remember what I'm talking about? I was involved in that horrific accident on the 10th of January when I was in Solomon. And to everyone who saw the wreckage, of course, of the car, to them they actually saw somebody who had died. They saw a grave. To them there was a grave somewhere, because it was easier for people to die than to live. But because the Redeemer was living, and he decided otherwise, they were actually people, it was easier for those people who should have died to live, and they are still living today. And one of them is me, who is speaking to you today. Don't we need to thank God for that? I personally have to thank God for that, because like I'm saying, if the coin had actually been tossed on the other side, I would have been history. You would have forgotten about me. In almost a year, you almost forget about everyone. But we need to tell the story for another day. And we are telling the story today because the Redeemer lived. What is my point? My point is this. We always forget to come back to God and say, thank you. But when we come back to Him and say thank you, what are we thanking God for? God, thank you very much, because throughout the whole year I was able to build a house, and I'm now living in a big house. Thank you, God, because throughout the year you actually enabled me to buy a very beautiful car. Now I'm driving a beautiful car. Thank you, Lord, because ABC. We are always talking about those things that we amplify in our lives. We are always talking about those most obvious things, and we forget to talk. We forget to thank God for those things that I would actually call enablers, things that will enable you to be able to buy a house. What am I talking about? I want to propose and suggest a few things. As we are starting the year 2019, things that we should always constantly thank God for as we actually move forward as a Christian. Think about this. If somebody was a footballer and they made it in life, think about all the big names. I'm not going to mention them because I'm on camera. Think about all the big names in football. Think about all the wealth they actually have accrued in their lives. If they were to thank God today, they would actually thank God because of the wealth. But they forget that there's an enabler that has enabled them to get whatever they have. If they didn't have the feet to kick the ball, they would not be able to be kicking the ball. So they would not be able to thank God for anything that they have. They forget to thank God because they think thanking God for having feet, that's too small for me to thank God for having feet. So they want to thank God for having accrued wealth in life. So do we need to thank God that we have feet? How many times do you thank God that I'm able to walk about because I have feet? They even need to thank God because they have fingers. I don't think you will be able to kick the ball, to score that immaculate penalty if you didn't have fingers. I mean toes. on your feet. The goalkeeper, if he didn't have fingers, how are you going to be able to dive for that ball? How are you going to be able to carry it away? But if they were to thank God, they thank God because they are able to drive the Lamborghinis. Many of them are now being called, because of the language that we have today, language is changing. The youngsters are actually calling them gods. I never understood whatever they were talking about when they were talking about somebody being a god. Then when I discovered, they actually are saying he's greatest of all time. So greatest of all time is a god. It's very interesting. But you became a god according to the youngsters, not because you achieved anything, but because God gave you something that has enabled you to be like what you are. Think about somebody who works in a company and they are the spokesperson of that company. Everything comes and rests on them. For all corporate affairs that have to be communicated with the public, they are the ones that are doing that. Do you thank God that God thank you for giving me a voice? Because if you didn't have a voice, you would not have that job. Because the job that you have is because you have a voice to speak to the public. If you didn't have that voice, were you going to be able to get a job to then talk to the public? Who would employ you if you were dumb? No one would. No one would employ you if you were deaf, if you didn't have ears to hear, or even if you didn't have eyes to see, because you are not capable to do the job. If you are employed as a driver in a company, have you ever thanked God that He gave you the hands and the legs to be able to change the gears and do everything that you are supposed to do? But you always thank God because He gave you a house. And you forget to thank that He gave you the hands which have enabled you to be a driver, for you to be able to achieve the house that you are thinking about. We thank God for the byproduct, but we forget to thank God for what we are supposed to thank Him, which is the first thing. Think about your nose. If something in it, unwanted, wants to come out, you easily hold it like this. And what do? You blow your nose, and it goes. You blow your nose, and it goes. Of course, don't do it that way. Maybe you need a handkerchief or something to do it. But the point that I'm talking about is you can blow your nose. If you didn't have that nose, how would you blow away that which is unwanted? That looks absurd here, to thank God for that. But do we take time to thank God for those smaller details? You go to the toilet, all of you, all of us. Some of you have been to the toilet, and some of you are going to be to the toilet before we even leave this place. When you go there, effortlessly, you just take away the unwanted substance in you. Have you ever thanked God that God, thank you, my body is still functioning naturally? Because there are some people who are not able to do that, who are carrying tubes wherever they go, because their natural system cannot drain out the unwanted material in them. But you forget about it. When you are sitting on that chamber, do you ever think about thanking God? I mean, do you ever think about thanking Him? It sounds absurd, but it is not really absurd. We always want to thank God for those big things. We forget to thank God for those so-called small things. We need to compliment God for those that, several times we actually complain. In the situations that I was actually raising, where we actually have prices that are going up, where we actually have everything that is spiraling out of control, we always complain to God. But we don't actually thank Him that at least we have a salary to start off from. Because there is somebody who actually doesn't have a salary, who doesn't have a starting point. So you're actually better than him. That actually reminds me of a story that I'm going to use to conclude my argument. The story of a man who was a vagrant. And this man would actually walk up and down the streets, and he was rummaging through the garbage bin, trying to look for food. So one of these days, in his mission, as he was walking up and down this affluent suburb, he went to this bin, and as he was trying to rummage through, there was a man outside, the bin that he was actually trying to rummage through, the owner of the bin was in his house, very beautiful house that has a balcony. So this man is standing at his balcony and he's looking into the street. And he sees this man who is actually trying to look for leftovers from the bin. And he says, thank you, God, that I'm not that man. because I would be rummaging through the bin if I was that man. But while this man is actually trying to look for the food in the bin, he actually hears a siren of an ambulance moving up the same street. And he looked back and he saw that the ambulance is really busy. It must be going to take somebody who is sick, or it's actually carrying somebody who is sick. And the man stood and he said, "Thank you, God. I am not that man who is actually carried in that ambulance." So the ambulance goes up, and this man that is being carried in the ambulance, he goes up to the hospital. When he goes into the hospital, he actually hears that somebody has just been taken, the bed they are going to lie you on, there is somebody who has just died, who has actually been taken to the mortuary. So you're actually going to use his bed. And he says, "Thank you, Lord. At least I'm not the one who has died." I suppose the one that died, when he got there, if he was a Christian, he probably said, "Thank you, God. At least I died, but I'm going to see you because I was a Christian. I'm not the one who is sleeping next door to me because he's not going to see you." What is the point? The moral of the story is, in every situation that we are in, we should be able to thank God for whatever we have. Our problem is we always complain for things that we don't have, instead of giving God compliments for those things that He has already given us. Somebody is rummaging through the bin, that's okay, but he has life. He actually is better than somebody who is sleeping in an ambulance who is going to be taken to hospital. If the one that is in ambulance is one of the multi-billionaires that we have in the world, but he is actually going to hospital to die, so who is better? The one who is actually going to eat food from the bin, and the one that is a billionaire but who is going to die tonight? Let's take time, as we are starting the year, to thank God for those smaller details. Because those smaller details make us what we are. Let us not forget to thank God that we have families. Let us not forget to thank God that we have those small things that we have in life. Because if you have your body, which is still physically working, you are able then to achieve. But if you lose one of your members of your body, it doesn't matter how much money you might wish to make, you are not going to be able, because you are now disabled to do some other functions. Let us thank God in whatever situation we are. The situation in Zimbabwe has not yet stopped. If anything, it's promising to be just the starting point. Because it doesn't look like the so-called politicians, the so-called leaders that we have put in, they have a clue to the problems. Problems seem to be changing. I mean, they are even changing to the higher stage every day. 2019 might even be worse than 2018. But again, as Christians, we are still going to be living in Zimbabwe because we are Zimbabweans. What are we going to do? Are we going to be complaining every day simply because the situation is not attainable? No. We also need to thank God for those things that He has already done for us. And let us leave everything that He hasn't done for Him to decide whether He wants us to have them or not. Let us take a cue from this man that is called Job, who actually thanked God in all the calamities that he went through, but he was still able to say, "Thank you, God," and he never sinned to God. Thank you very much. May God bless you.